Hi guys, this is GamerAxell here, and I just want to. I made a YouTube video about a year ago, and it was a very small thing. And you'll see it on here. It's the Warhammer 40k Space Marine review, and in which I talked about why I wasn't a particular fan of the game, and I gave my reasons, my own personal reasons, but people of course took offense because it was Warhammer, and people do have a lot of heart in Warhammer. And also, I felt I didn't handle the review correctly. There was a lot more things I could have done. I could have said a lot more positive things about the game and its certain sections, but I didn't. I focused really on negative, and that didn't come across well. And I also, it wasn't edited very well. It wasn't linguistically said as good as I wanted it to be, and I'm not good at speaking, as you could probably see. And I'd just like to respond to a few comments in the thing to tell you my personal reason. It's not getting offensive or anything, because really, people will always win because they'll shout me down, that kind of thing. So I just want to talk about, go through the comments and see what you guys have said and give a response. So if you do come back here and you see this video, you'll at least know my reasoning. Sure, you can probably bring up some more questions. Like I say, not very good at speaking, and this is just going to be an off-script kind of thing. And so let's just look down a few of the comments just to see what people thought. And I know one of the top comments here is I'll give you a quote here. "Bro, I would say big respect on the video. If you didn't sound like a 12-year-old girl and make me want to jump in front of a train, just saying." And yeah, I know my voice came off really high-pitched. I really don't think of myself as someone who speaks that high-pitched. Maybe I am, but I didn't think it was that high-pitched. But it does sound weird, and it does sound like a girl. I'm willing to admit that. And let's just go through a few certain comments. Okay, so this is one that came a few weeks ago. "This guy is wrong in every possible he said. The enemies just charge at you. That's because they're orcs. They have no other strategy. They're dumber than a pile of human excretion, and the orts about the non-regenerating health. I hate regenerating health. Oh, I'll just sit behind a wall and let my legs grow back. And with this is based on Gears of War. No, Gears of War is based on this. The Lancer was based on Chainsword and Bolter. This guy, gas, no, F, asterisk, hashtag, $ing, IDAD, what he is talking about, and I mean, this guy's not great at speaking, sure, but okay, he brings up a few valid points that I'm willing to talk about. As far as orcs went, yeah, I already knew in the game. I'm not a Warhammer fan, just so people knew, just so you know that while going into this. I mentioned in the review, but people clearly took it up with me like I was meant to do all my research, but I didn't do that much. But I know orcs aren't that smart. I know they're meant to charge in. My point wasn't that they charge in, my point was it didn't make for a great amount of variety. Most of the game you're just slashing down enemies, and it's not that difficult. I played on hard the entire time, and it only gets difficult when the Chaos Marines show up, and that's not because they're difficult, it's because it's kind of thrown you through a loop, and all of a sudden there are enemies who can shoot well, and they can take you down pretty easily. I didn't get to the end of the game. Maybe one day I'll have to do that, but I looked up the Wikipedia page. It didn't seem that interesting. It didn't seem like I missed a lot. And so, in spite of that, yeah, the orcs do just charge, and sure, that's good for the lore, but it doesn't mean it's good for gameplay. Surely it should be more about the gameplay than fan service. It's an important thing to get right, and I think there was a lot more they could do. I don't know if there are any smart orc types. Like I say, I'm not a Warhammer fan, but if there are, maybe they would have been a better enemy to base off, or a different enemy in general, just a better enemy that's more interesting and smarter to fight, and just makes for more epic scenarios, just something that was more interesting. He comments on regenerating health, and yeah, the regenerating health in the game was stupid. I'm not sure if he is saying it's stupid. I believe he is. But I don't know. And the Gears of War thing, it was something I brought up. I said, I even brought up the fact that people would respond to me saying, you don't understand, Gears of War copied that, and I'm saying, no, this copies Gears of War quite heavily, and it does, with the sprinting mechanics and the melee mechanics and the shooting mechanics. It copies it a lot, guys, and you shouldn't be afraid to say that, because there are games that I love that copy games like crazy. I'm a big fan of the Uncharted series, and I'm willing to admit it copies so much out of Tomb Raider's books. And, you know, that's something that I'm willing to admit. But to deny that this game copies copies a lot of things off Gears of War is just kind of going out of your way to deny something. Yeah, okay, Gears of War does copy a lot out of this, sure, but it copies more weapons and kind of more maybe the mythos than it ever copies gameplay style. It never copied the gameplay style, whereas this did copy the exact gameplay style that Gears of War was doing, and I'm not a Gears of War fan. I mean, I think they're kind of mindless fun entertainment. As far as the stories go, I'm kind of out. I really don't care because they are kind of boring in their story. But, you know, that is the kind of thing that I personally think. But, you know, I guess it's something based on taste. I do have a few comments on the video. You can check them out, in which I reply from my actual account, Sean Devaney. In which I replied to a few people. I talk about a few things, like the difficulty spike. I mentioned that because of that, and some people didn't agree. They were saying about the health mechanic was fine. I played it on easy. I didn't. I did play it on hard because I was encouraged by a friend to do it. I kind of wish I just played on normal just to get to the end of the game, because I kind of just got annoyed at that bit and like, you know what, I'm not having fun. Why should I play anymore? And there's a comment here. I'm not normally vulgar or that rude, but this is shit. Stop half-assing reviews or just stop completely. Most of your shit is ridiculous. I mean, seriously, executions for health is just awesome, because it forces you into a badass cinematic. If you complain that you can't half-ass the game as you do your reviews, and just shoot, and when you lose health, can't just pick up a health kit, you're ridiculous. It just makes you do what you already should be doing, getting awesome executions. Now, I understand this in principle, but I do have a response. And by the way, I haven't done multiple reviews. I've only done one, so get your plurals right, buddy. About the executions, people clearly love the executions, and yeah, they were fun for about a minute, and then you saw all of them. And when you're forced to do repetitive animations with a clunky melee system that isn't that exciting as you've done everything, just because it gushes blood doesn't mean it's awesome. It takes a lot more. It takes impact, and there's a lot more than just fountains upon fountains of blood coming out of a character to make it cool. And so when you see all the executions in the game, and you've seen every single one, it gets repetitive, and it's not that exciting once you see it. But, you know, I guess some people did just want to see that kind of thing, and they wanted to see big over-the-top comments, big over-the-top executions. But, you know, if people like that sort of thing, I think that's fine. If you like to do the same exact animation over and over and over and over again, God knows people loved it in Gears of War. But again, in Gears of War, it did have impact. It really was, you know, it's kind of dramatic, over-the-top thing. I think that's what differs it in this. Those are the main comments, and those are ones that I hadn't responded to, and I wanted to respond to here. Overall, yes, I didn't do the greatest job that I felt I could do with the review. I felt there were some problems, especially from a video issue. I took gameplay off other channels. I never felt that great about it, and especially not giving them the credit that they deserve. If I could, I'd go back and I'd find out what channels they were on, and then say gameplay credits go to, but I don't remember, and I think a lot of the trailers were from Machinima, and you want to go check Machinima out. They're pretty big, and you know they're pretty good. They definitely put a lot of videos on, but that's the kind of thing. Okay, well I did that, but there's one more comment I haven't responded to, or I have, but I'd just like to talk about it just quickly. I assume it plays on easy then, as the game's solid. I mean, look at it in GW's terms. Chaos Space Marines and Bloodletters have stats equal to Imperial Space Marine, whereas Orcs can be equal or less than the Space Marine, excelling at close combat unless Day's a shooter or Weird Boy. Seeing that, of course, fighting against better trained units, Imperial Guards and Traitor Guards are nasty when massed. They will destroy SMs at range. Then the difficulty ramp is correct. I don't understand half those words. And I made a comment to this. I don't get a lot of it. I don't know what all these classes. I think I know what a Weird Boy is. I think I've heard one of my friends say it before because they like Warhammer. And just to let you know, I did try Warhammer. I just don't have the patience for painting or any of that, and I don't have the money to get all these units because it's an expensive hobby, and I've never really got into it because there were so many restrictions. Aside from that, my point was never that it didn't make sense in context. It makes sense in context, sure. My point was more, it was sudden, and they suddenly just appeared, and they were all just there, and they were all planning to kill you and trying to kill you, you know, with the Chaos Space Marines, them just suddenly showing up. By the way, the story was terrible. It was pretty fucking boring, and for Chaos Space Marines to show up, I mean, I don't know what an Inquisitor is, but I knew that guy was gonna be evil. It was pretty obvious, guys, so if you really thought that was a real plot twist, no. But them showing up, and apparently this guy names a bunch of stats that I guess they're better than Space Marines, and apparently that means it makes sense. And yes, that makes sense for context, but it doesn't make sense for an actual fucking game to suddenly throw in the difficult enemies at the last part, and not gradual. That's what a difficulty spike is. It's all of a sudden. It wasn't gradual. It wasn't like, oh, these orcs are starting to get hard. Oh, they're getting pretty difficult. They're getting smart. Oh, now chaos are here, and they're just a bit more difficult than these orcs. It wasn't like that. It was, bam, these are the better ones. And it was sudden, it was thrown in, and I think it was forced because they felt the AI wasn't good enough. And that was more the point I was trying to make. I didn't communicate my ideas the way I wanted to, and I wrote the review because I was angry. I had been angry at the game for about a year. But that's just my opinion. And to people saying, well, it's good if you're a fan, I'm sure it is, guys. But you missed the point. This was the game's chance to make me a fan. To make me a fan of the mythos and the story and the characters and the world it builds. This was its chance, and it fucked it up because it didn't get me invested. It didn't get me interested. The multiplayer was pure crap. It was like 2 billion customization options, and it was like, ironically, 50 Shades of Grey. And it was a very boring multiplayer, and it's very standard. The whole game was very generic, and most people missed the score I gave at the end. I gave it a 4 out of 10. And that's more below average kind of thing. And it's not the worst game I've ever played. That reward still goes to Damnation. But it is a bad game, and it is a game I would not recommend unless you're a fan of the actual, you know, setting and characters and whatever. And if you're a fan of it, that's fine. That is completely cool with me. It's just, I'm not. And so I hope that clears up some questions you guys had. You can keep posting questions if you're really interested. But if you're not, that's completely cool because, you know, I feel maybe I communicate my ideas more strongly here. I may do another review, I'm not sure right now. I'm kind of busy with college work, and so, you know, we will see what we will see. I would like to and I'd like to be more active in GamerAxell. There's another guy to it, but I don't know what that he's doing. He kind of does this all the time, just makes channels and then abandons them because, I don't know, he gets bored. But, you know, if that's the kind of thing, I might do more, but right now it's not. So, right now, a year later, I get to actually respond to some of these comments, even though I've already done some of them. So, this is GamerAxell, signing out.